Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here, whether you're live or you're watching us on YouTube or the Facebook. Thanks for being here. I'm Sophia, your host. We are in the 22nd Annual Garden State Film Festival, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Stefano, the director of a documentary called Stolen Dough. Hello.
Hello, I'm so glad to be with you, Sophia. Thank you so much. This is a great intro, and I'm
Thank
excited
you.
to get in this conversation with you.
Me too. I am so excited, not only because you're just a wonderful presence and we've been having great convo before we even went live, but because I truly love this film. And I said I wasn't going to say this, but I'll say it. I'm not a huge fan of
Yeah.
documentaries. It's not my first go-to, but this one is so unique and I loved it. And we're going to have some great conversations about it today. But before we get into it, can you tell everybody who you are and then a little bit about Stolen Dough?
Yeah, of course. So, Stefano DeFrey, I'm a New York City filmmaker, New Jersey also as well. All the post and a lot of the principal photography was taken in New Jersey. So, we're homegrown talents in just outside of Brunswick and in Newark as well. Um, I love this film. I mean, Stolen Dough is a story about Anthony Mangello, who invented and had a patent for stuffed crust pizza, and basically goes into negotiation with Pizza Hut, and then they rip off his patent. We follow the sort of 10 years of this legal battle, and we really focus on the film having a much more darker, moodier tone instead of a regular sort of, standing talking heads kind of interview of documentaries. I don't really like traditional documentaries as well, and I very much agree with that comment, Sophia. So we wanted something a little bit different.
And well done. Definitely was. And how did this story about stuffed crust pizza and Anthony Mangello, how did it come to you? And what was your inspiration for making a documentary about it?
So Anthony and I share a publicist together. And Goldman McCormick, and they're a publicist out in Long Island. And I was pitched this story from my publicist, who represented Anthony, because CBS iProductions had tried to do this as a sort of a pilot of Anthony's story, but there was a lot of creative differences. Anthony's a very big personality. He's a warm guy, but he also Italians, we're natural hollowers. We tend to scream a little bit or yell a little bit, and I think there was a lot of conflict in there. And I knew, growing up in an Italian household, that that would be not a problem. That I would be okay having a relationship like that, and having a working through some of these issues. So that was in December of 2021. I liked the deck. It was just a story deck. There was no visual decks to it. I then went to go meet Anthony with my head producer, Laura Pellegrini. We went to go see him in person to see if you're going to do a film. You don't know when you first meet your subjects whether you're going to be able to do it. It's like dating. You don't know whether it's going to be a long-term relationship. Could be a disaster. And you also, one thing I would say to your audience is you don't know whether the subject is telling you the truth. And being a good filmmaker, you have to come in pretty objective, because you really don't know for the first little while what's what. People say all sorts of crazy things, and you don't know until you sort of start to build the relationship and start to piece things together what is feasible and plausible. And so I came in with a very open mind. And at that period of time, when we met Anthony, we also had a connection through a friend of mine that I worked on production with, to the Russo brothers, who had did Captain America Winter Soldier and Avengers Endgame. And they only basically gave some financing for about 7 micro budget films, let's say films that were under $200,000, 7 feature films. And I contacted them because Anthony was not ready to do the film right away. And once we got the grant from the Russo brothers and they were going to be involved, immediately once you get that name, then everyone else sort of falls into place. And we started shooting in April 23rd of 2022.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long was the process from when you started shooting till the editing process? How long did that take?
Yeah, so we went from April 2022 um, until the end of June. So we shot for 2 months, basically 2 months straight, and that's all the narrative stuff and all
Wow.
the written stuff. Um, in your opening segment, when you sort of talk about a non-traditional film,
Hmm.
I knew that we had to write the script, and I wrote the script for a lot of the scenes that had come in. And so the audience who's watching us right now is not familiar with this, but in a docudrama, I didn't want to do sort of the Discovery Plus kind of versions where the reenactments are just a scene or just a couple lines, basically a line or two. I wanted to flesh out long scenes. Some scenes are 3 minutes, some are 5 minutes, some are 6 minutes, and I really wanted to go for a real docudrama kind of experience and to make it darker. So I think that was a big challenge of sort of you listening to a lot of the source material and then writing the script, sending it back and forth between me and Laura, and obviously trying to have as much creative independence from this, figuring out how much to share with Anthony when it was ready, figuring out how to get Pizza Hut employees and sourcing them. That's a whole thing from the 90s, and figuring out people that had worked there. So to try to build your case. And then September 1st, I sent it to the Russo brothers to get the green light. And I knew that the film, I'd only cut maybe 30 minutes of the movie, and I knew I had to extend 2 scenes. And what I ended up extending in the end, what ends up on in the final cut is I end up extending the suicide scene, and I end up extending the summary judgment and the scenes with the judge. So yeah, I mean, you're on a project like 2 years, and you know what I mean? It's like it's a long process. So
yeah, so much you just talked about was like part of my questions, because let's go kind of in order. You talk about, yes, not traditional documentary we have here. The way, I mean, the reason it caught me within the first shot was like not only just the look, but the sound, and it really felt like a narrative film. Your direction was gorgeous, the cinematographer was phenomenal, and the actors you cast, I mean, just talent all around. So can you talk to me about, the way you shot this? What was your inspiration for the directing style, and how did you find this like perfect cinematographer and the cast that you chose?
I will tell AJ DeSimone, who is our cinematographer, and I've known for 15 years from SVA, School of Visual Arts in New York City. What a perfect cinematographer he is. He is, in my opinion, I've done a lot of movies together, and I love AJ. So to answer your question very succinctly, I love David Fincher films. I love Michael Mann. I like crime films. I'm not into the horror genre per se. I don't really like. But I like dark, moody films. I love. I mean, Social Network is probably one of my favorite films, and I understood in terms of the source material compositionally. It's kind of funny actually to have people will sort of laugh about an idea of someone inventing stuffed crust pizza, and I knew that you're up against an audience that is going to maybe think of this as a joke, and so. It's okay if an audience sort of laughs, but directionally, compositionally, I wanted to show that this case really destroyed his really took a toll on him, destroyed his life. It took years out of his life, was very stressful and emotionally painful, and that Pizza Hut essentially robbed him from giving him credit for his invention and literally stole it. So I think compositionally, the design was always to mirror crime films in that genre. There's asphalt in the beginning. It's raining. There's a 1970s Cadillac in that first meeting. There's a glove compartment where he pulls out a gun. You see that in the first 50 seconds. You're drawing in your audience compositionally. And if you don't do those narrative things, there's no guarantee that an audience will stay with you for another 4 minutes. Most audiences, bail in the first 4 or 5 minutes. If you don't have them in 4 minutes, it doesn't matter how good you think your ending is. they don't care if you don't
Mhm.
have them in the first few minutes. So compositionally, crime film. That's my
Wow.
short answer. The final answer, yeah, that's basically what I
Oh,
think.
taking mental notes right now. We could and I'm gonna rewatch this because it's like great gems of advice for filmmaking. And so you knew AJ, so that was a great working relationship
Yeah,
already. How
yeah.
did you find this cast that was like so perfectly portraying Anthony and the brother and the lawyer? How did you find the cast?
So okay, so Vincent Pastore, who played the role Big Pussy in The Sopranos,
Mm.
was a great actor and had hooked me up. I saw in an acting class in Tribeca the guy Armand Matteo who plays the brother Young Lawrence. So that's checked off the box. Bobby Kruger, who plays Paul Sutton, who's Anthony's lawyer, was in House of Cards for like 3 episodes, and him and I knew each other from the Neighborhood Playhouse, which is an acting school.
I went there. Well,
Yeah,
not a degree. I took some classes there. Great place.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
sorry.
So I actually I'm an alumni of the Neighborhood
Oh,
Playhouse. I went
amazing.
there for 2 years, and I graduated there. And Bobby was a little younger than me, maybe about like 2 years younger than me. And Bobby had worked on a lot of episodic shows, so I knew I could direct him, and we were speaking the same language. So that's a check mark. So that's two actors working right there. In terms of the lawyers, Sal Rendino had done a film with John Travolta called Gotti, and I knew Sal from I want to say through some connections that we had in Long Island, and so that was a check mark right off there. So right away, and he was on like East New York, a show on CBS, and I was like, okay, if I can get television people that television actors who work quickly and can take direction very quickly, that's going to be great. So that's Sal Rendino, plays Eugene Goldstein. Vincent Ticali, I had worked with before. He does a lot of commercial work, a lot of television episodic stuff. Was in The Blacklist. That was great. You know, I took a lot of veteran working class actors. So there you go. So you're building your bullpen, but you don't have a starter. You don't have, where are you going to get Anthony? Where are you going to get young Anthony Mangello? You know, I was hesitant. I had auditioned a lot of actors, but I didn't really like all of them. And I kind of was like, am I capable enough as a director to kind of go the role that, you know, maybe Hitchcock or Antonioni did, using a non-actor who knew Anthony? And I was like, okay, I need someone who really knows and spend time with really Anthony. And that's how I found asking Anthony if there were people that worked at his company, Formaggio Cheese, if there were younger people in their 20s, 20, 25, 27, who spent a lot of time with him. And then I got a list of maybe 5 guys. And then I found I was blessed to find Cody Pomposello, who had never done a film before. So we spent a lot of time rehearsing in pre-production. And, you know, when you work with a non-actor, they're holding on to you as a director and they trust you so much. So in terms of the coverages and the montages, you know that they're going to be scared. You have 30 people on set. They're going to be a bit nervous. They're going to, their lines are going to just escape. But if you can cover them enough and you have enough experience as a director, you can cut in on different, it's sort of a working conversation that you have with other filmmakers. Some directors like to do 7 takes and have 2 angles. I'm the opposite. I'll cover an actor 5 different ways, then I'll only take 2 takes, but I'll cover them on 5 different angles and 5 different shots, so I can cut between them. Because they're going to get better over the takes, even if I start moving the camera, but I'll have more cut points for them. And I think in The Room, when Anthony is calling up Pizza Hut, where he finds out that he gets that they have stolen his patent, really the realization of it. It's methodically designed that way to work with a non-actor, so that their performance is so you don't know. The audience should never know. The audience should never know that it's a first time actor or a non actor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your job as a director. If you're a good director, no one should know. And all of that for me is in the design of the shot list and the coverage. Yeah.
Yeah, I did not know. And shout out to every single person who you cast and who did a wonderful job on this. I mean, I have so many questions, but basically it touches on everything you're saying. I could talk to you all day, but we're basically out of time, but I still want to talk about some stuff. Number one, you are an award-winning director. Your work is featured on NBC.com. You got something streaming on Peacock. Your amazing DP, who we talked about, AJ, he has some work on Netflix, right? And on Amazon, just full of talent. But we have so much advice that you've been giving to other filmmakers out there. But if I can ask you what you learned in your career thus far and in this project that contributed to your success as a director, what would you say is something that's so important?
Number one for me, I have a great producer that I work with all the time, Laura Pellegrini, and Laura and I think balance each other out quite well. Laura is a woman. I'm a guy. We share the same tastes. We cover a lot of bases. We can disagree about our sort of perspective. So you can cover a host of interpretations of scripts, social issues. And I think also my editor that I work with is from England and worked at the BBC. She's a woman in her 60s, a veteran. I think surrounding yourself with people that you have the same tastes but are a little bit different from you are quite good, because then when you argue with one another, you complement each other and you're able to negotiate and make your ideas stand, because you're not going to get sort of roped into, this is my idea. You're going to throw a bunch of ideas together and then you're going to solve them as a team. I think it's a very important thing to have a good producing team, a very good perspective. I'm not a big fan of only guy productions, and I'm not a big fan of only girl productions. I think diversity of thought is extremely important, and it's what prevents us from making boring movies. That's really what I believe as a filmmaker. I've always produced with people that have different thoughts than me.
Oh, so amazing. And before we wrap up, I know you're excited to have Stolen Dough here at the 22nd Annual Garden State Film Festival. I am so excited for it to be screening this year. Why Garden State Film Festival, and how does it feel to have it premiere in New Jersey when, like you said, you filmed a lot of it in New Jersey?
I heard so many filmmakers that I really respect talk about what an incredible environment it is, how it really focuses on the filmmaker, showcasing filmmakers that are sort of not just from the region, but sort of internationally and abroad. And you can tell in terms of the panels, the discussion, the care. We've gone through a period of time where we are creating so much content. There is a harder and harder period of time for legacy festivals to curate what they show. And all festivals now have to differentiate themselves from being not necessarily online, but really being in person and getting value added, value for the audience, value for the filmmakers. I love that about Garden State. I think there's value in the aspect of meeting each other, creating connections with other people in the industry, with audiences, agents, people from distribution companies, sales agents. And I think that is the legacy film festivals will have an important aspect to the growth of filmmakers in their career. I know for myself, these types of film festivals always beget more work. And so I'm honored and humbled to be part of Garden State this year.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it has been such a pleasure talking to you, picking your brain just a little bit. I know there's so much more. Everything you've heard about Garden State Film Festival, everything you just said is like the epitome of everyone who knows Garden State Film Festival. It's all true. It's like a family, so many different levels of experience, so many different films you can watch, and a great place to network and connect and just watch great art. So I am so ecstatic to have Stolen Dough being there. I'm so happy to talk to you today. Thank you again for making this great film. Thank you to everyone involved, and congratulations.
Thank you, Sophia. You're so sweet. And I cannot wait to be there with you guys.
Yes, can't wait to meet you in person. Let me tell everyone watching how they can see Stolen Dough. It will be playing Saturday, March 23rd in the film block 5:45 to 8 p.m. at Cranford Theater. You can check out also there's 200 films from 14 countries, all across 8 venues in these 4 days. So definitely check out Stolen Dough. Get your tickets at gsff.org/tickets, and we will see you there. Thank you again, Stefano.
Bye.
Bye.